killing brush. I got him at gunpoint.
They're pulling them out.
911. Advise ready for entrance campus.
God!
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
I'm Chuck.
And we are having a hell of a freaking week, man. We got people going down all over the place. You were sick, and then we had to postpone Locker Room till tonight as well. We're recording 2 episodes tonight because
no, I only had bubble guts.
Well, yeah, that's sick. You know, I mean, bubble guts. You know, bubble guts is sick. It's just why do you have it? Probably because you're a cop.
Yeah.
So
Matt had an emergency, and
Matt had an emergency. He'll get into that. It's been a crazy couple of days. World War III is on the verge of breaking out. Russia wants Alaska back.
In part of California.
Yeah, which I don't understand, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
We bought it fair and square. Fuck off.
Right?
So who, Chuck, do we have this week?
We've got a gentleman by the name of Chris. Now, Chris has a wealth of experience in law enforcement. He's was a training officer. He was a firearms instructor, a SWAT operator. He's got a lot of experience to bring in and share probably some pretty heartfelt stories. And has dealt with a lot of different things during his time as a police officer. So I know we'll get into that and probably a little bit of some PTSD stuff as well, which a lot of us, most cops, in my opinion, even if they don't want to admit it, have struggled with post-traumatic stress. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not a disorder for them, but they have struggled with some sort of post-traumatic stress, because we all see a child get fucking smoked, or, a poor kid crossing the street gets hit in a traffic accident, and those things mess with you. It's all about how your glass is. Is it half empty or is it half full? Sure. Or is it overfilling? Like, so most cops have struggled with it, and I'm sure we'll hear more about the triumphs and struggles and tribulations today. Well,
Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on.
I'm gonna baptize you with fire right now. I'm gonna ask you: have you ever had a cop dream?
A cop dream?
Yeah, like a dream. You got to do cop shit in your dream.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Who hasn't?
All right, exactly. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now: if you're a cop and you've had a cop dream, if you're a soldier, you had a soldier dream. If you're a Marine, you've had a Marine dream. If you had actually Marine dreams, they might be about crayons and all kinds of other shit, right, Chuck? But if you've had a dream about some shit that you either did or may have to do in the line of duty when you're not on duty, guess what? That is, by definition, post-traumatic stress, right? It's not during the trauma, it's post-trauma. And when you wake up from that dream and your heart's beating a little fast, you're stressed. So, case in point, if Chris here has had a cop dream, Chris here has experienced post-traumatic stress. The disorder part is what Chuck's referring to, right?
Yep.
So I find it odd when people kind of, well, I don't have the problem with that. Well, then you're either a robot or you're not doing the job properly.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, well, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into law enforcement, what your experiences were, like how long you were on, and kind of how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah. After 9/11, I think it woke up a lot of stuff inside of us, some more than others, but me, I wanted to serve in some capacity. My oldest girl was only about 2 months old at the time.
Oh, it sounds so familiar. My daughter was literally 3 months old when it happened.
Yeah. So our kids might even be friends. Who knows? In some capacity, but I know.
My daughter turns 21 in June.
Nuts. Mine's July.
Yeah. There you go.
So getting close.
Yep.
So I went to the Marine recruiter and went through some testing, and it just came to B, that it was not going to be conducive to be a PFC in the Marine Corps and have a little kid and a wife and try to make a living and move all over and try to make all that work. So my father-in-law, my wife's dad, obviously, was a lieutenant or retired from the sheriff's office. So as far as any lineage goes, that's as far as it goes, is my father-in-law. But I decided, heck, man, maybe I'll do that. My wife's boss, her husband was a sergeant at our local police department. So I did a couple ride-alongs with him, and the first time out at night, I was like, holy shit, this is what I want to do. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I'm all about this crap. Let's go catch some more people. I like it. So
let me ask you this then. What is it about being out on that first ride along at night? Like what was it that, because I know what it was for me, but I'm curious to know what it was that hooked you.
It was a little bit on the personal side, because that was my town, my hometown that I grew up in. And like, there's a little bit of mentality of, man, I can help clean up my own town, serve my own community. And plus it's freaking fun. Yeah. You know, it was a blast. Like,
it's cops
the
and robbers.
adrenaline was great. Hell yeah. It's shit that we played as a kid.
But now the stakes are legit.
Yeah, the stakes are legit, but I get paid.
Right.
So
wait,
it's like,
you're going to pay me to chase people and get in fights and carry a gun?
Yeah.
I had a training officer say, you wouldn't do this job if they made you wear a polo shirt and drive a Camry. I'm a fuck no.
No. Hell no. But so I think a lot of us has probably had this similar experience at the beginning, and the company I was working for was downsizing, and they were starting to lay off a lot of guys, and I kind of volunteered to get laid off because I had a plan. That was my plan. That was my exit strategy. I was going to do that no matter what. But I told my boss, said, hey, if you can let me go and keep one of these other guys that might be older and no other options,
wants the
needs
job,
a freaking job, give it to him. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So he came to me like the next day and said, hey, you know that thing you're talking about? I got to lay you off today. I'm like, all right, sweet.
Bye.
See you later. Yeah. And so I got everything in line, and I started the academy unaffiliated. You know, I cashed out my 401k so we can live those 20 weeks or whatever it was. And
Nick, let me ask you, where'd you go?
I went to Santa Rosa JC.
Okay.
It used to be at Two Rock. I might have heard of Two Rock, the Coast Guard station.
Yeah.
Then I was like third or fourth class. They built a brand new campus, brand new the indoor range and everything. So it was pretty cool. We had a pretty new facility.
I was a couple hours south of you at Allen Hancock.
All right. Yeah, right on. Yeah, it was a pretty good experience. Our academy experience is pretty dull compared to the rest of it, but
you know what?
Going
as an unsponsored, like you don't have a job, you're wearing the school patches, like you're wearing the school badge. It's almost like you have to really prove yourself, because those recruiters, those DIs, they have the ears of all the chiefs and all the background investigators and all the local agencies. And if you're a piece of shit, if you're a lop, if you are weak sauce, and if you're a potato chip, they're going to know. Yep. So you have to really I remember the guys that had a job and they were sponsored by agencies, and it seemed like they didn't have the same maybe sense of urgency because they had a job. And I was like, no, motherfucker, I gotta hump it.
Yep.
You gotta be the cream of the crop when you're putting yourself through an academy, when you're trying to market yourself for agencies.
Yeah, exactly. And we had some soup sandwiches too, man. Oh, I mean, there was some, probably like every class, but good Lord, it was
the guys that won't graduate, or if they do graduate, they won't get a job.
The first day. Yeah. Yeah. The first day, he's not going to make it.
Right.
That dude ain't going to make it. That guy might make it if he pulls his head out of his ass, but this other dude definitely ain't. So.
Yeah. It's crazy. At least back in the day, the program was really designed to weed you out quick.
Yeah.
Quick, right, and in a hurry.
Yep.
You know, I've seen people who are supposed to have double tapped and been kicked out because someone had ties with their father, and the father knew someone high up in a department or in the department that was putting on the academy. He passed.
I mean,
Really?
And then they tried to
nepotism
get
is
him
real.
on. Yeah, and then they tried to get him out while he was on probation, and they couldn't. They were basically told leave him alone.
No,
He's going
no.
to pass.
So he's a perpetual problem forever.
Political
now.
hire.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and I was like, I never thought that shit would be possible.
Yeah.
When I saw it, and I was like,
Yeah. It's like, how'd you pass all the tests? How'd you pass post? Who knows?
dude, so much on that. Ugh.
So you put yourself through, and did you get hired before you were graduating?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Actually, the department I wanted, my hometown department, didn't have an opening. But one guy was looking at leaving. So everything was kind of hinging on that guy leaving. So there would at least be a spot open. So I graduated the academy unaffiliated and went back to work, kind of doing side jobs. I was usually a welder by trade. And so I was doing some welding on the side and just doing whatever I could to pay the bills. And then the spot came open, and man, I was on it like white on rice, So I started testing. I was riding along whenever I had a chance. I was doing ride-alongs, and so they knew my face.
Yeah, put yourself out there.
Yeah, so they knew who I was and what I was about, and how I worked. And yeah, I scored number 1 on the oral, and the rest is history. There, I got hired on in December, and I left. I graduated the academy in September, I think, August, something like that. Yeah.
So it wasn't too long.
It wasn't terrible. I mean, it was a little nerve wracking, but just the testing, like, man, I just want to get this over with,
Right.
And still, there's no guarantee. You start, something comes up in your background or whatever. And I kept my nose clean all my childhood. So, I wasn't a great student, but I didn't go out and do a lot of stupid shit. Well, I didn't get caught doing a lot of stupid shit.
Well, but that's the thing. You still worry, like, what are they going to find? What are they going to say? What are they going to think? Like, we've talked about
didn't
this.
Get caught.
Right.
Didn't get caught.
Oh, so I could tell, and I won't tell you who it was, but I remember it was like 3 or 4 of us rookies that we all had made it off FTO, but we were all still on probation, and we were working a shift, and we all, met up at a park at like 3:00 in the morning to have some coffee, and, we park our cars, ass to fucking mouth and shit. Yeah. And we were, so at some point in the conversation, somebody goes, so what did you lie about on your background?
Uh-oh.
And it's just funny because, like, you go through that process, and it's so, it's not a fun process. It's an awful, uncomfortable, really, really invasive process. Yeah.
Yeah. Bend over.
We're
going to check you out. Yeah.
Using the whole hand, doc.
Yeah.
Oh God. So you get hired on a couple months later. How long was FTO for you?
Gosh, man, I want to say it was like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that.
Oh, it's pretty quick.
I didn't get extended, or anything like that. So it went pretty chill. I mean, I did normal rookie stuff. That my FTO, one of them, loved for me to handwrite. He must have loved my handwriting because I handwrite a lot of freaking reports, man. Like DUI crashes.
Oh.
He goes, until you get them down, you're not typing.
That's old school.
Shit. Yeah. That's kind of old school. He was definitely old school, but it was fun. Had a lot of fun, had great teammates. We were really close, really small department. So, we all hung out together after work, right. On days off, we were all hanging out. Our whole patrol team was, drinking beer and barbecuing. Our kids' birthdays were all together. And, so.
Oh, you don't really see that too much.
No, I know, I still visit with some of my buddies that used to work there, and they've moved on to bigger departments, and they said the very same thing. Like, man, we don't do that. We just don't do that anymore.
Yeah. It's a shame. It is a shame. And even in small departments like mine and yours, where they do it, there's an element of like, watch yourself. You can't do it the same way you used to be. Like when I first came on, we would literally go after work to an alleyway or a cul-de-sac or the parking lot of a school, and we'd freaking each of us would have a 6-pack, or whatever it was, or we'd go to breakfast at McClintock's at 7 a.m. after getting off of a graveyard at 6:30, and everybody would be having their eggs and we'd be having like fucking cheeseburgers and margaritas.
Yeah.
Right. Like, why is this table of 8 guys drunk as shit at 7:45?
Right.
Well, my friend, the floor is yours. So what is your story?
I'm not sure where to start, but we'll start with after FTO, kind of moved up, being a small department, kind of moved up fast, and not so much in rank, but in opportunities. I wanted to go to any school they wanted to send me to, and wanted every opportunity that came up. I volunteered for it for the most part. And SRO spot came up, so I took that. What a great job! Looking back on it now, I wish I'd have stayed there.
Right,
but it was one of those jobs where you're really pigeonholed, And I didn't want to be stuck with that job forever.
Not to mention the freaking nicknames and the reputation or the perception. And I mean, let's face it, we make fun of SROs on this show all the time.
Yeah, right. I mean,
and for those that don't know what an SRO is, what is that?
School resource officer. Yeah. But it was a pretty
fun modern version of a DARE officer. You just, if it happens at the school, it's yours.
Yep, it's mine. So our department had an arrangement where the SRO worked during the school year, and then he worked in the detective bureau for the summer.
Yeah.
And I did not want to do that. I wanted to work patrol. So they kind of made an exception and went, well, okay, we're kind of short on patrol anyway, so have at it, kid. And because I love my patrol team, I just wanted to hang out with those guys and be with them, work with them, blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, moving along on a few years, and our department we had a little gang unit, which I was part of, but we kept getting circulated back in patrol because we were always shorthanded.
Right.
So our little units are all part-timey kind of ragtag stuff.
Like, hey, we all have a night we can go work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Or trying to arrange like a SWAT practice, was really difficult. And we got together for our first SWAT practice, and none of our uniforms matched. Like, I'm wearing Woodland. This guy down here is an all gray. This guy over here has got like chocolate chip cookie stuff from Desert Storm.
Oh, God.
And like, oh my God, we look like the Bad News Bears. And it was just like
colors on.
Lord.
Fucking Mighty Ducks of SWAT.
Yeah, it's like, guys, okay, the first thing we got to do is freaking get all matching shit here. Okay, let's try to do that. Let's all try to match. But anyway, I digress from that. So one night our gang unit was a sergeant, the SRO at the time, and a couple other guys were doing like a little gang sweep on the south end of town, and we just got done with briefing.
It was the south end.
Yeah, it's always the south end. Why?
I don't
it's
know.
Never the north.
This is everybody that listens to this show knows it's always the south end.
It's always the south end of town. Stay away from there.
Yeah.
But so we just started our shift, just got done with briefing, went 10-8, and I'll bet you 20 minutes into it, shots fired.
Nice.
So it's just absolute chaos on the radio. We do not have MDTs. And so I'll head to the south. What's that?
That's some cowboy shit right there.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, that's
old
we
West.
didn't have MDTs till halfway through my career. Like, I spent the first 5 or 6 years without an MDT. It was a radio in the car and a radio on your belt. That was it.
Yep.
I'm surprised we didn't still have call boxes.
Right. We probably did somewhere.
Yeah, we probably did. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I worked with a cop. She said that she worked when she started. There was a fucking light on the top of the police station on a tower. And when the light was lit, you knew you had to call in.
That's some old school shit there. That's really old school.
Yeah.
It's like right after smoke signals or something.
Right. Exactly. Oh, God.
But anyway, so we boogie down the south end of town, and it was really confusing on the radio because everyone was screaming, and it was like an active shooter type of thing. So we went on south of where our guys were at. Well, we ended up having the bad guy in between us and the guys that were there before us.
Oh,
so we were down range of all the cops' bullets.
Oh, a little crossfire. No big deal.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was pretty sweet. So we got friendly bullets going over our head and, busting out windows and skipping off the pavement and going in the air. And
I just want to go on record as saying that any bullet going past my head is not friendly.
Not friendly.
I don't give a shit who shot it.
Yeah. That's probably a bad choice of words. But
no, I laugh because they always call it friendly fire. I'm like, if it's coming at me, it's not fucking friendly.
No, not very friendly at all.
No.
And anyway, we took some cover, and it was bad guy was actively shooting, and we were downrange of our guys, which wasn't cool. And ended up the bad guy was wounded, and we were going to do kind of a quasi rescue. We're going to try to gain some ground on him and get closer to him and see what was up. So my sergeant drove the patrol car, and me and another guy were using it as cover. And we had, at the time, we had H&K 33s, that they're full auto 223, big, heavy, very well built bastards, but really heavy.
Yeah.
No lights on them or any of that fancy shit. Just a chunk of iron that shot bullets.
Yeah.
And
it reliably shot bullets, but
reliably shot bullets. Right. Which ironically and I'll tell you here in a couple minutes, but anyway, we had a shot, like he was laying down, and I think he was still actively either pointing or shooting. I can't remember. And I had a shot at his grape. Me and my patrol partner did too. And I was like, should I shoot? I go, let's not shoot. We don't even know where our guys are at. If we miss and hit one of our guys, it's going to be really shitty.
Right.
So let's hold off. So it seemed to me like he was wounded enough. He's not fighting. He's kind of writhing around on the ground. Anyway, we get up to him. We kick the gun away, hook him up. Dude ends up, we transport him to the hospital. We do some first aid there. He goes to the hospital. He ends up dying, bleeds out. He's a Sereno gang member. He's a total piece of shit, and he didn't deserve any better than that.
Yeah.
And but the problem with killing one Sereno, now you got to deal with all the other ones.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get back in the car. My rifle's out of battery.
Oh, fuck.
The bolt's back just enough. It wouldn't have fired anyway. So thank God we didn't have to get in some,
hellacious gunfight.
Yeah.
And there is no forward assist on that HK.
No forward assist. Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And I'm happy we went to ARs after that, but great battle rifle, but that's what it's for. It's for the freaking battlefield. It's not a great tactical rifle, I don't think.
Right.
That's a different discussion. Yeah, the damn thing was out of battery. I've never, ever had an issue with one of those rifles. Because, you slam that bolt forward, there's like freaking 10 pounds going forward on that thing. And to have it
like
out
a
of
Chevy
battery,
truck spring fucking pushing it forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't want to get your finger in there.
You get grand thumb.
Grand thumb, yeah.
You know what's funny? There's some big agencies that utilize patrol rifles, the M16s from Vietnam, right? And half of them that they'll give out to their students are,
the officers going through qual and stuff.
No. For patrol for the field, like going through the school, and then that's your rifle, right? We'll have the forward assist, and it'll be like an older version of the M16.
The A1 or the A2 or something.
Yeah, but it's like old school, like the triangle fucking metal grips on the front, and with the little tiny holes that are all metal. And then so you have that, no Picatinny, nothing cool, nothing like newer age or nothing like that. And then the other half will get what looks to be the same, but no forward assist. And then you're going through the school, and then luckily officers went through the school. They had all of the Ford Assist, and then come back to patrol, and another group come back, no Ford Assist. And you're like, hey, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Your bolt don't go forward, and you have to jam it. Like, how they teach you, because that's one of the things when you're going through, and you have to show manipulation.
It's like a failure drill.
We have to simulate it. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we simulate hitting it. I'm like, so you're building muscle memory on a weapon system that doesn't even have what you need to hit. So when you go forward, you're just like doing it to the air, and then you go,
oh shit,
what is that? And then, like, if it doesn't
Patrol
go
is
forward,
the
you have to re-rack it, eject the live round. Hopefully it goes forward. If it doesn't, I don't know, fucking bang it on the ground. I don't know. But it was funny.
Shit.
And I just thought that could segue into what you're going to talk about. And
Oh,
there's
yeah,
some big
yeah, sure.
agents who have money, who just don't give a fuck.
Right.
No, and that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
that's what it comes down to, like priorities. Like, I can tell you tons of agencies where they'll buy a new admin car, but the fucking rifles, like, our agency had government issue A1s and A2s with the round, that round ribbed fore end that was made of plastic. So it was the fore end that came out right after the triangular Vietnam Guard. And we all had forward assists, thank God, but iron sights, plastic fore end, like I swear to God, my patrol rifle smelled like Charlie. It was
mine was used in Vietnam. I just fucking
swear to God.
It came from where it was fucking used there.
No removable carry handle. Yeah, you couldn't put optics on it without the adapter. Yeah,
right. Dude, it made the freaking sight like 2 inches higher than
like looking over a wall.
Oh my God, patrols are ready.
That's fun stuff. But anyway, this dude dies. And better for the world, more oxygen for the rest of us. And all these fuckers, all these Dodger fans, if you know Serenios, you know what I'm talking about.
Those
They're all
Dodgers,
Dodger
man.
fans. Love Dodgers.
Yeah.
And so they start coming out of the woodwork and showing up at the hospital, wanting their pound of flesh, right?
Really? At the hospital?
At the hospital.
Oh, shit.
That's ballsy as fuck, dude.
Fucking ballsy as shit, right? And there's 2 of us sitting out front of the hospital, right?
And another 2 on patrol, and that's it.
Yeah. So we had sheriff's office come with anything they had. So they brought us a canine guy, which was better than nothing. Most people freaking back down from dogs. So, so these fuckers are like yelling at us, "Come on, let's go get our guns. Let's come back." Like, oh, this is it, man. This is going to be the Alamo. We're fucked. And luckily it was all talk, but all night was like that. The whole rest of the shift was that shit. They'd go in, they started stealing beer because they wanted to freaking, my sergeant's like, we're not chasing after any of these fuckers because they're probably going to ambush us,
Right. Yeah.
So we're not playing their game. If they're going to go in and steal beer, fuck it. We're not dealing with it.
Steal some beer. Fuck it.
Yep. So that was a good call on his part, I think. And anyway, we dealt with those little bastards, my good partner on my patrol team. He had some of those guys across the street from his house, sitting in a car like constantly. And he'd go out in front of him. It's like, get the fuck out. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, this is a public street. I don't give a shit. Get the fuck out of here. Right. You don't shit where you sleep, man. Don't be coming to my house. So, and that took a toll on him. That's rough. Having a freaking bunch of gang members outside your house, and they knew where we all lived. It wasn't a mystery. Right. So it was really hard to separate in that small town. It was really hard to separate from anything. Even going out to restaurants, shit like that. But you guys know all that stuff.
That's the hard part about working a small agency, and that's why I chose to live 35 miles away from the city. And for you, I'm sure it was tough because that's like, for me, I grew up in LA. My dad was LAPD, but he asked me not to go to LAPD, so I didn't.
Yeah.
And I went to a smaller agency up in the Central Coast of California, and so I wasn't emotionally connected to the town. I didn't grow up there. They just hired me to be a cop.
Yeah.
And so I, like a lot of LA cops, they work in the South End, but they live in Santa Clarita. They work in, the East LA, but they live in Simi Valley. Like, it's just, you don't shit where you eat, period. End of story. Exactly. So for me, it was a no brainer. It was, I will work in city A and live in city C, and city B will be 35 miles in between the two.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't have to worry about that shit at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But for you, did you want to stay in and live in the town you grew up in? Was that like no, this is my town, I'm not moving? Or did you not give a shit?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that, but you know what? God, we owned a house, and my wife's family's there. My wife, everything. My wife has never moved anywhere. I've hopped around a little bit, but that was my hometown, and so moving for her was like would have been a big deal.
Yeah,
and
if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Hey, you got that right. You got that right. But I mean, she's a trooper. She's very, very strong woman, and I love her very much. And we just decided to kind of stay put and just
make it work.
I guess it was kind of a little bit of naivety too, and like, where do we go? Where are we supposed to go? And I mean, it's not like
just where we live, so why move?
Yeah, right. It's just where we live. This is home.
Did you run into people you've arrested at the grocery store or that kind of thing?
Oh God, yeah, they're cooking your food. Like, no, thanks. We're going somewhere else. Thank you. Yeah.
My buddy lived in the city that he worked in.
Yeah.
And even me living well outside the city I worked in or work in still, I still ran into people and would often arrest people and be like, oh shit, they're up near where I'm at. Oh fuck. And, my buddy, he was coming home one night, in his police vehicle, but it was all unmarked and shit. And he took off any type of like gear that he had on that would say, I'm the popo, unless you know what his pants and boots look like. So went shopping at his local Vons real quick because his wife needed some stuff. So he's like, that's on the way home. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to go and grab a few things and then I'm going to go home. Well, got recognized by an asshole that he had arrested multiple times. Ends up getting into a full-blown use of force in the parking lot.
Oh, shit.
With nothing. No tools, nothing. Groceries in hand. And I'm like, oh, shit. I mean, it was a help call. And suspect, unfortunately, subsequently went, not unfortunately, but subsequently went to the hospital. And darn. And I'm like, damn, dude, like, you need to move. And he's like, nope, this is my home. I'm going to protect it. I'm like, all right, dude. That's on you.
So
that's up to you. But it's I get it where he's coming from. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Scary as shit. But if I was able to work in my hometown, I would probably live in it too, because I had that connection to it. And I would want that to protect it. And I would have that sense of honor to be there and to ownership. The ownership of it. Yeah. So I 100%, I get it.
I get it too. And I there, but I'll say this, my old man would talk about stories about, guys that would get into, uses of force in the same neighborhoods where they lived and patrolled, same thing. But he also talked about at that time, and we just talked about this recently, which is, there was a code, right? If you were in the game, cops, robbers, okay, it's fair game, but you don't follow people home. You don't bring their family into it. And, that was an era where if you mentioned or even briefly hinted that you were even thinking about an officer's wife or kids, or whether or not he even had a wife or kids, because cops did not wear wedding rings, just for that very reason, then they were going to pull you into a dark alley, pull the freaking throwdown from their ankle, shove it up your nose and say, if you ever mention my family again, nobody will ever find you. Yeah. And that was it. Like, that was how it was handled. So you didn't go after people's family. So your guy lives in the town, dumps the dude dies at the hospital. There's Serranos everywhere, and they're sitting in front of his house. I can only imagine what that would do to him. Yeah. It took a toll on him, for sure. I mean, it's a catalyst for sure, without a doubt. And it would be for anybody. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it was a rough go. Like, that whole summer was kind of crazy.
And that was 2000, was like April, I think 2007 when that happened. And then I think in 2007, our department, I think over half the patrol guys pulled their guns or fired their weapons in self-defense.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
it wasn't
wow.
all bad guy dies, but there was a couple. That was a crazy year, man. I don't know what it was. And
Something in the water.
in the water. I don't know.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a drug.
You know, it always happens like that.
Yeah.
It
It
does
does
happen like
kind
that.
of come in cluster. And I
Yeah.
think part of that is that mass psychosis kind of philosophy of one person breaks the seal. Like one bad guy breaks the seal by shooting at cops. And I think it almost gets the ball rolling for other bad guys going, oh,
yeah,
it's time for us to shoot at cops now. I could do that. Like it's almost like I said, breaking the seal. One guy does it, everybody's like, oh, I can do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Opens Pandora's box or something.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And then that same year, that December, I get into one. And that was pretty nuts too. It was a domestic. I had a trainee that just got off training. It was like his first shift without me. Right. And he was all done. He pinched some kid, or had some kid detained on the south end of town again.
Right.
And and we knew he was on probation, but they couldn't find anything in the computer, but we all had hard copies. We had files in dispatch from probation.
So it was like wrong middle initial or some stupid shit that some data entry clerk. Yeah.
Yep. And, or use the 0 instead of an O.
Right. Exactly.
Bullshit. So, me and my sergeant, we went back to the PD trying to find this file. And then our fourth guy on our patrol team has somebody at jail. He had a 10-15 like right off the bat. He was a meat eater. So it was like 701. This dude's going to be 10-15 with somebody, right off the bat. Anyway, he was at jail. And so we're looking through the file and we found it. And we're just sitting there in dispatch, we're like standing right next to the dispatcher. That's how small we are.
Right.
And
been there,
they're on a call. Dispatch got a 911 on, and she looks at me. She's a very experienced dispatcher. So when you see a look of,
oh shit
on a dispatcher, it's an oh shit for sure.
It's a legit oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And she goes, hey, you guys start heading north. Gave us the address for a 415 domestic. All right. Me and the sergeant started rolling down that way. And I had a cadet with me, cadet with me. It was like 13 or 14, right?
Uh-oh. Jesus.
So he's in his little light blue uniform, and so we roll up and we park. You never park in front of the house, right? We all know that. We parked like even extra far for some reason, and get out. We start walking. It's raining, and we don't hear anything, man. It's freaking quiet. And then we get to the house, and it looked like the SWAT team had already been there.
No,
like the freaking windows were broke out.
Oh, shit.
The door was beat to shit, and we're like, where the fuck is this guy? So we hear pounding on the back door. And it had this rinky-dink chain link fence that was like 7 foot tall. And me and the sergeant, we're Smurfs. We're like, yeah, we're not going to climb this rickety thing or fall on our ass or something, get hung up in it.
Nope.
So we decided to go to the front door. Pound on the front door, police department, and a female occupant inside. She goes, oh, is it the police? Yep. She lets us in. He's at the back door. So we go through the kitchen. Or go through the living room, go through the kitchen. It's not a real big place. And they had like the neighbor over and they're all drinking and dicking around, whatever. Well, this guy was every bit of 6 foot something, and he was the neighbor. He was one of the good guys.
Okay.
He was trying to hold the back door closed, like someone's trying to get in from the outside. And he's holding the door closed. And he's in his socks he's in his socks on a linoleum floor, sliding around, right, trying to hold this door closed. Well, I look and there's a freaking barrel of a shotgun going through the hole where the doorknob used to be.
Oh,
yeah. And it's like, yep, I think
Almost
I know how
good to
this is
go.
going to end. This ain't going to get good. And we told him to move out of the way. So he moves out of the way. Shotgun barrel pulls through the doorknob hole. Dude kicks the door open, levels shotgun at me. I level rifle at him, and he didn't win.
Right.
So,
well, thank God he didn't win, and
Yeah.
you're allowed to tell the story.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Fuck.
Well, he would
That's
have.
gnarly.
He would have killed
Action beats
everybody in that
reaction,
house.
man. He didn't know
Yeah.
you guys were waiting ready. Like,
No.
Yeah.
No. And he was like his BAC came back at like 2-2 or
7.
something like that. It was just, he was trash. They were all drinking and they got in a fight. And so he left, and this is like the after story, but he left and brought a shotgun back with him and tried to get in the house. But anyway, dude's obviously he was dead before he hit the floor.
right.
And, I gave him 7 rounds from an AR, and my sergeant gave him 5 rounds from a 40 Glock.
No.
So he didn't go
good
too
measure.
far.
Yeah.
But it all happened like
As one does.
instantaneously. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that started like a chain of events for me, on top of all the other crap that we get to see as cops, right?
Sure.
Dead kids and bullshit, you name it. And, fill in the blank. So we did the typical, we all went to the shrink.
Right.
Like 2 days after that, shrink's like, how you doing? Hey, fuck, I'm great. Was in a gunfight. I won. And here I am. Cloud 9, right? Well, that's all well and good, but the shit needs to keep happening, right? Looking back on it now, obviously 2020 hindsight, that stuff needs to be continuous. It should be part of training. Like
Right.
if you have to go to evoc, even though you drive a car every freaking day,
Yep.
you should have to go to some kind of training, mandatory.
Mandatory.
you ask
Everybody
the guy-
does it every time, no matter
Absolutely.
what. There's no stigma.
Absolutely. Yeah. If everyone has to do it, you're absolutely right.
And you're talking about going to a psychologist at least like once a year or something like that.
Yeah. At least
Or
once a year.
at least, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
And
when you
there
look at
should-
the statistical data about how once an officer's been involved in a shooting, he's 60 to 70% more likely to get involved in a second one.
Yeah, exactly. And then like your guy 8 times.
Yeah.
That guy's on a roll.
And my theory, and listeners to the show will know this, my theory is that once you've tasted the edge of the line, once you've looked over the abyss and seen how deep it goes, and you realize how quickly you end up on the edge, teetering over the abyss of death and going, holy shit, I almost died.
Yeah.
You will never let it get that close again. And every time that it happens, every time you face that kind of a situation, you move the goalposts back, because every time you're like, oh, that was still too close to the fucking edge. I'm not going there again. That's my thing.
That, and you learn policy very, very well, like the back of your hand, because there's people out there that will go their whole career without being involved in the OIS or a nasty use of force.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know. It's not because they're, whatever, they can't handle it, but it's because a lot of cops out there that don't remember the policy and they don't stay up to date on it. And that's a very dangerous thing to do. And because that's going to get you hurt or your partner hurt. I can't tell you how many new police officers would get asked in roll call a year after they got off probation, 2 years after they got off probation, something that they would have known while on probation, but because they're off probation, they get lax and they're like, okay, I don't really, whatever, this is BS. And you ask them a simple, what's the pursuit policy? What's the shooting policy? What's the use of force policy? And they're like, and they start kind of trying to do it, and they're trying to get there, but they can't, and they don't go all the way. And you're like, look, dude, like X, Y, and Z, this is what it is. Now you're going to go and learn it. You're going to print the fucking policy out, and now you're going to remember it. And every day this week and next week, when I call on you, you will give the roll call for that policy, and you are going to know it, and you're not going to be using the sheet. You're going to be going off of memory. So you better know it. I'm not going to tell you when it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. And that allows coppers to retain this shit. And when you have a good watch commander who's constantly doing that, it fucking makes for a stronger officer. And when you have an officer who's been involved in an OIS or a really bad critical incident, they have to know that policy when they're going into to talk with the lawyers in the department and the shooting investigation people. They have to know it. And then they never forget it because it's ingrained in them, because especially in shootings, it gets ingrained in you because you're like, almost fucking died. That shit was crazy. And you learn that policy like that. And I believe what you were saying, Tom, as well as now you know that policy. Now you know without a doubt that's where the line's fucking drawn in the sand. And I'm not letting it go any farther, because that puts me and the public at risk, as well as all my partners.
I'll say for cops who haven't been involved in critical incidents that required or put them exposed to disciplinary action and or legal action, civil, criminal, whatever. I'm going to invent a term here. I'll call it for now the Gandhi's or Tom's use of force inversion policy phenomenon. The less likely you are to need that policy, the less likely you are to know it. The less likely you are to know it, the more likely it is to fuck you when you violate it. So you're not a lot of cops are going to get involved in shootings, but that fucking policy better be burned into your goddamn brain. Same thing with the pursuit policy. Those policies, if you don't know them backwards and forwards, the less you know them, the harder they're going to fuck you for not knowing it.
Yeah. And the cops who have been involved in more and more things, the fights, the complaints, the shootings, all that shit, where you look at their background, you look at their packet, and you're like, fuck, that's a risk management issue, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe, but no. Those are the motherfuckers that you should be turning to for leadership, because they have gone through it all. They've been through the ringer. They're the ones who are going to be the good leaders. Those are the ones, like in the military, you look to the senior leadership where you're like, okay, this dude has been through the shit. I'm turning to him because he knows what the fuck he's talking about. And there's far too many agencies nowadays that are like, no, that person's been involved too much. That's a risk management. They're going to stay over here. They're not, we don't want them out here. Like, no, like, they're not a risk management issue. They've been through the shit. It only becomes risk management issue when they're dealing with demons and they bring that shit to work and they're not seeking help for it. And that's a slippery slope. But at the same time, I've known some badass cops that fucking rise the ranks, and they have been through the shit. They've been through some nasty stuff, and they've dealt with it personally on their own and have gone through their shit, but they were able to compartmentalize it in a good way, where they were getting the help that they needed for their mental side, because it does take a toll on you. But those are far too many. They get segregated and they get labeled as fucking risk management issues or problem children. And that actually pushes them over that hill even farther. And we have far too many police suicides that could probably some of them could be prevented with simple changing of the rules of that stuff, and not labeling people and not making them the black sheep of their agency or the department or the division or wherever the fuck they're at. You know what I mean?
How did yours go for you?
It was mixed. I think, I just don't think the department was quite, up to speed on everything. Yeah. I mean, we've had a couple in our department prior to that, so it wasn't a huge surprise, but I just don't think they had all the ducks in a row. And like I said before, a guy should not, I know there's a lot of people listening, but if you're in that spot, don't think that your department or Workman's Comp or any of these things are going to come rescue you, because it's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen.
You are on your own until proven otherwise.
Fuck yeah, you are. I mean, very much so. Yeah. And Workman's Comp, especially, they're an insurance company. They are in it to write the least amount of checks that they possibly can.
Right.
And if you fall by the wayside, you do. It doesn't matter to them. You're just a liability. And, we have to treat everyone else like human beings, right? We have to judge every situation as it comes, and we're trained to do that and be empathetic. And then when you get in a situation where you're broken, literally broken, whether it be a physical injury or a mental injury. It's so easy to get tossed by the wayside. Workman's Comp, you know, like they sent me to a shrink. Yeah, here, you're going to go to our shrink. Great.
Yeah.
I just want to feel better and not be crazy and not have nightmares and not go through all this shit. That's all I want.
But how do you trust a shrink that works for the agency that's trying to fuck you?
You don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just don't.
Exactly. So we've had this, like, we as we're closing up, I know we're running out of time, but I'll bring up a friend of mine who's been on the show. He was in a shooting. He had 18 months or anyway, he was in a shooting about 18 months or a year after I was, and he had to shoot an ex-cop and kill him.
Yeah.
And he was probably all of 22, maybe 23 when he did it. And he had maybe a year or two on the job. And this kid, like, he wanted to make like it was fine. Like, he wanted to be cool with it. He wanted to be okay with it. And he was doing all the right things that you're supposed to do. Well, the department sent him to a shrink, and I shit you not, he sat with this shrink and he talked about it on the episode we discussed it about. And she said, "So how do you feel about killing him?" And he said, "Well, it was him or me. And he was trying to kill me, so I had to kill him." And she says, "So is that what you tell yourself to help you sleep at night?" And that last sentence, like, everything leading up to that point where she's like, "Okay, how do you feel about it? How do you know, I understand that." But then when the commentary comes in of that snarky little fucking shrink dig, we're like, "Oh, is that what you tell yourself at night to help you sleep?" Implying that it's all bullshit just to assuage your guilty conscience for fucking killing somebody.
Yeah.
Like that, if you didn't have a guilty conscience about it, if you did feel okay about it, if you really did understand that you were doing the Lord's work, that is instantly going to stick that fucking popcorn kernel in your teeth, and you're going to go to bed at night thinking, wait, the fucking police shrink said that.
Yeah.
Now, what are they telling my bosses? What does she think? What's she writing down? Now you're becoming suspicious. What did you just write? What did you just write on your notes?
Yeah.
So
fuck.
You start feeling crazy.
Yeah.
And far too many officers don't get the proper help that they need,
right,
even when sent to a psychologist. And I'll
tell you what, that happened to me too. The psychologist that I went to, and he was a good psychologist. He was a police psychologist. I asked to go to him because he was a specialist on officer involved shootings. And the best way I can put it is as succinctly as possible. When he asked me how I felt about it, I'm like, he tried to kill us. He was, and he's dead and we're not. That's the bottom line. He goes, exactly right. He was a fucking scorpion, and you guys did what you were supposed to do. And if you think, or if you feel bad about it, or if you have any, you're just being a little bitch. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, are you supposed to say that? Like, I get it. Like, maybe he's trying to be like, but all those little comments, those little asides from civilians, they make an impression. We think about them. We may not think about them right there at the time, but 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, that fucking voice comes up in the dark of your freaking bedroom when all the lights are off and you're trying to go to sleep. And you're like, wait a minute, did I have to shoot him? Did I want to? Did I enjoy like, and you were fine with it. Yeah, exactly. So
questioning everything you ever done. Going back to the cop dream, my consistent cop dream through all that was going to court over it and standing in front of a jury. That was my constant, at least once a week, cop dream. Same thing. Stand in front of a jury, getting a guilty verdict.
Yep.
For what I did.
And they don't stop. I don't know about you, but I just had one a week ago. Like, I've been retired for almost 10 years. And I just had, like, the dream was somebody showed up at my house here where I live now from my department, said, "Hey, you are missing one day. You're short one shift for your medical retirement. So you have to go back and strap on your uniform and go and work a shift, one more shift, or everything goes away and you have to pay." I'm like, what, are you fucking kidding? And so I remember in the dream, you're putting on the bulletproof. You haven't done this job in 10 years, but I was putting on the bulletproof vest and going out, and I got in a shooting and all. Like, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
So
Yeah, I still get the screams from the person that was the bystander in my ear, the blood curdling scream after we got into a shooting, and that shit wakes you up, and then you think people are in your fucking house, and you're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Was that's the thing, that slight 30 seconds, or it could be 10 to, it could be as long as a minute sometimes, but it's that twilight sleep where you literally can't figure out if what you just experienced really did happen.
Yep.
Are you waking up from a dream, or are you waking up from the next day of what actually just happened to you? And that it's
wild.
So, it's crazy, and it never goes away. Never will.
No, you're 100% right. And something my Workman's Comp shrink said to me was, "So do you want to go back to work, or do you just want their money?"
What?
So that's what he said to me.
See, that's the fucking little thing they
bullshit.
say.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, wait a minute, is that a fucking fuck you?
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're like,
right.
I want to go back to work, and they're like, no.
Yeah. So it was small and subtle when he said it at the time, but it freaking was like a knife in my spine forever, And and you still, like, even today, kind of think like, man, people are probably, I'm sure there's a few guys that probably think that, oh yeah, he's enjoying his fucking retirement. Like, yeah, you can walk in my shoes anytime you want.
Yeah. Anytime you want.
You can have all my,
I spent the last 10 years trying to figure out what I wanted to do that wasn't being a cop, because all I wanted to do was be a cop. And so now, and I'm going to helicopter pilot school. Fuck it. But, So, we always let our listeners dedicate their episodes, to fallen brother or sister of their choice, but I think you have a good one this week. So please, who would you like to dedicate your episode to? And I love this because we're starting to get kind of, Chuck, we're getting out of the box like answers.
Yeah,
and this is great. Another one. I like it.
The people that are listening out there right now, they're probably sitting in their patrol car, wondering why their whole freaking world is spiraling around them, and why they think they're fucked up. I'm not going to say that you're not fucked up, dude or girl,
right.
Because you are to a certain extent, but you're not unfixable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But know this: you have to self-rescue, right? You have to. If you're on that island and no one's around to help you, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and hope that someone comes out of the blue and rescues you and takes you to safety. It's not going to happen. You have to be prepared, and you have to save yourself. Start swimming, build a raft, get out there, at least do something. You cannot sit there like a bump on a log. I did that. I sat there thinking that Workman's Comp's going to be okay. They're going to save me. My department's going to save me. My friends are all going to save. My friends were there for me. I'm not saying they weren't. You know who those people are. And if you're listening and you know someone that's having struggles, reach out to them, help them out, call them. Because that's one thing for me that was hard, was there's a stigma. Like, that dude is freaking toxic waste, man. I don't want to touch that guy with a 10-foot pole, because I don't want to get wrapped up in his shit. Yeah, he's a leper. So reach out to that. If you care about that person, reach out to him. He's one, even if you don't like him, he's one of your brothers or sisters. Help him out or her out. If you're sitting in your car right now and you don't know what to do, there's hope out there. But you have to go track it down. You have to put in the work. You absolutely have to put in the work. So that's,
to use your island analogy, you can either die a long, slow, solo death on the island because you didn't do shit.
Yep.
Or you can fucking build that raft, head out to sea, and either live to tell the tale or die a fucking hero's death trying to rescue yourself. And it'll be a quick, valiant fucking, you just be gone. Like, you won't have to suffer this long, insidious, just nasty fucking wasting away.
No. And taking your life is not the answer. That's not gonna, that just fucks up everyone else.
Yeah, it takes your pain and puts it on them.
Yeah, come on, man. Don't let somebody else carry your baggage for you. Yeah. There's permanently, like, I'm all about helping my brother hump his ruck, you know what I mean? But we can't do it forever. You have to,
You know what?
at some point, you have
Yeah.
to haul it back, right?
I'll say this. Any cop who goes to the gym knows sometimes you need a spotter.
Yep,
The
absolutely.
spotter's not doing the workout for you. The spotter's just there to make sure that it's not more than you can handle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everybody go get yourself a mental spotter, an emotional spotter.
And
Absolutely.
I'm gonna piggyback on both what you say, because that's a fucking amazing dedication. But you need to talk to someone and be heard, and grab someone, talk to him, grab a buddy, like, hey, this is what I'm going through. And for all those people out there, you know, people that are struggling, all you need to do is sit there and listen. You just need to listen to them.
Yep.
Just need to be there for them and listen to them, and that will help tremendously. And then there are so many programs out there. And if you guys message into us, you know, through an email, you can go to you know, the War Stories mailbag email. You can go to the booking email. You can go to our Facebook or Instagram page. You know, the link in the bio, it's all there. And you can message and be like, hey, I need some help. Or a family member. We've had family members reach out. Hey, do you know anybody?
We've
Let
had
us know what's going
civilians with civilian family members
Yeah.
who are not veterans. They're not in law enforcement. They're like, hey, you guys know about PTSD, and I'm afraid my brother is really suffering. How do I help? And we're going to actually figure out how to address that, because that is a big thing.
Yeah. And we have spoken with people on the show that have treatment programs, civilian and police, first responders, firefighters, paramedics, cops, military guys. Like, so there are a lot of programs out there. You can find a program and go get help. You can talk to someone, but you got to make the steps for yourself and family members and friends. You need to check in on them. Like, hey, are you okay? And talk to them and just listen to them. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's that buddy check.
Sure. Absolutely.
So as we're closing out, I want to mention a couple of things. One, you guys can always reach out to us, like Chuck said. Two, we still have, because let's face it, folks, helicopter pilot school is not cheap, and I don't want to have to take out student loans. So I started a GoFundMe to help assist. I'm paying for most of it out of pocket, but if anybody wants to help me change careers, because basically I discovered that the corporate world post law enforcement is not for me. It's just not, and I need to do something meaningful again. And my wife gave me the fucking go ahead at this point in my life, and she said, if you're not going to do it now, honey, when are you going to do it? And she's right. Like I need to be just as valiant and brave in taking on a new career as I was going through becoming a cop and then going through retiring from being a cop. And so our listeners said, hey, that's Matt said, hey, Chuck said, hey, start a GoFundMe. So there is a GoFundMe up. You can find the link on our War Stories page. That will help contribute. If every one of our listeners sacrificed a Starbucks and donated, I'd be like halfway there. So that's up if you want to go there. You can also support the podcast directly by going onto our website, buying t-shirts, and buying the Whoopee hoodie, which we still have some left in very specific sizes. So like, you got to check depending on what size you are. We did buy the bulk of them in large and extra large, so we still, I believe, have some of those sizes left. But if you're
we have some 2X. We have very limited supply on mediums and 3X. We have some 2X, extra large, and those are the majority of what it's in. Yeah. So
you can support the podcast that way. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Watch 3 Apparel, because Watch 3 Apparel is Southern California copper who did a lifestyle brand based on his experience as a Southern California copper. And they're doing a lot of our shirts for us now. So we want to give them a shout out. Check them out. Watch the Apparel. They've got cool shit. We're going to have at some point, have some designs to show you guys and share with you guys. We're working on a new design that we're going to be teasing here coming up soon for a new sticker for our salty veterans. And I'll say that it's aptly named for that sticker. And then if you guys always want to reach out to us, you always can through the normal channels.
And let me piggyback on that real quick. For the salty veterans out there that haven't received their package, please email booking.warstories@gmail.com. Let me know. I'm going to develop a list, and then we're going to create a tab onto the website. That way, once you pay for your salty veteran, we're going to work something out to where you can go in there and it'll get auto-generated as an order. Right. And then we are working on a sticker pack only for the salty veterans. And it's because we've kind of failed a little bit at it, but we want to make it right. So there is going to be a badass sticker pack with only limited edition available stickers for the salty veterans. And you can get the website. It's the Wix website. It's warstoriesofficial.com. Yeah, you can go to our Facebook, Instagram. Please share and all that stuff, and follow us on there and subscribe to that. But the link in the bio, it's the Insta bio. So click on that link. It has a link to our Instagram, all of our socials, Facebook, YouTube, website. It will have the Watch 3 Apparel link on there as well. And if you go to Watch 3 Apparel, you check out their gear and you're like, oh, hey, I heard there's a discount. It's War Stories. So type that in. When you go to order gear, you get a discount off for being a listener of us, and that helps support our podcast as well as Watch 3 Apparel's company. So check out all that stuff. Please like and share our stuff on Instagram. If you think you have a story or you want to come on the show and you want to do a booking, please go to booking.warstories@gmail.com. Again, that is booking.warstories@gmail.com. If you forget that, Instagram, Facebook, link is in the bio.
Yeah. And finally, last week we debuted a song at the end of the episode from a veteran who's writing music and producing music and supporting veterans causes and charities through the music that he's making. And we were turned on to him by our guest. So right now, if you're listening to this show, you're hearing that song again, because I think that song called Not Alone is by Shannon Book. You can look him up on Facebook, Shannon Book Music. He's got his music on YouTube. He's got all over. Shannon Book, Book, Apple. He's a veteran. He's a 17-year Navy corpsman, embedded with Marines, 2 combat tours. All of his stuff is geared towards what we do. You're listening to the song right now, Not Alone. So I'm going to give a big shout out to Shannon Book, and also tell you that I've been in contact with Shannon, and Chuck and I are super excited because we're talking to him right now. Chuck is going to get him scheduled, and we're going to have Shannon Book on the show to talk about his time and what he's doing now. So yeah, that's going to be really cool.
And guys, go support him. Go to Apple, go to whatever music, Android or whatever the Amazon one it is. Go to Amazon Music, download his stuff. I've already downloaded every single one of his songs to help him and to help support him, because I think it's really awesome to what he's doing, and the songs will really touch you and move you.
Chris, thanks for coming on, man. I'm looking forward to because it turns out Chris and I are neighbors secretly.
Yeah.
Looking forward to meeting up in the real world. But I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Do you have anything you want to say as we close out?
I just want to say thanks again for having me on. It was fun, and I got more stories. They pop up in your head.
Hell, I know. We need to do this again. You're welcome back anytime. Well, now that I know you're close, next time we do it, we can do it in person. We don't have to do it over this bullshit computer.
That'd be fun.
Old school.
Yeah.
So have some actual drinks, and then when Chuck comes up to visit, we're gonna freaking sit down and actually sit at a table and do it like we used to do pre-COVID. So
that's
looking forward to it. Chris, you're welcome back anytime, and we'll talk soon. And until our next episode, come home with your shield or